This thing is very hard to see in the dark. The hull, the sails, all of it. So when the lantern showed up, I realized something kind of important. And I had to build it to find out. There are 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. The first movie came out in 2003, and if you're watching this, there's a reasonable chance you saw it in a theater. Pirates as a concept has been around forever, but this one felt like something genuinely new at the time. We had a lot of cool pirate stuff, Jack Sparrow doing whatever he was doing, and a story that didn't take itself too seriously. The ship itself had tattered black sails and was kinda beat up. It's big, it's ambitious, and I've been looking forward to getting into this one for a while now. We have the captain himself here with his pirate clothing and pirate goatee. Once we add his hat and his hair, we have one of my favorite pirates of all time, Slash from Guns N' Roses. This guy definitely hasn't slept in several days. Up next, we have a small boat, which is an interesting inclusion when the rest of the set is a giant ship. I'm not going to question it though. You never know when you're going to need a backup boat, and it's always good to have options when you're out at sea. As the pirates had been known to say, safety first. As with any build, we've got to start with a foundation, and it's just a handful of large pieces that snap into place. You can already get a sense of the scale here, which is a good sign. These builds start getting quite eventful when you see rods like these show up. We'll be attaching them along the sides of the bottom piece here, and I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do yet, but they look significant enough that I'm going to trust the process and keep going. I mean, pirate ship engineering has to start somewhere. We're building a mechanism of some kind, which is always better than adding more structure. These pegs look like they would work well with some cannons. Cannons on a real pirate ship sat on wheeled carriages so they could roll back after firing and get reloaded. And a good crew could turn one around in about a minute or two while being shot at. When you gotta deal with pirates and scurvy, moving cannons around mattered. Once it's all together, the whole thing slides back and forth, and the entire row moves at the same time. Now we're putting together another familiar face with some sharper features, a cleaner cut, and definitely more on the dapper side of things. And this guy was also an elven archer from Lord of the Rings. That's being quite the multitasker. There's surprisingly a lot of small details in these little cannons, which are basically the main attraction on a ship like this. They're kinda how the pirates do their pirate things, like take people's stuff and so forth. Going into this, Disney was not a stranger to knowing about pirate ships. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland opened in 1967, which was over 30 years before the first movie came out. When the ride first opened, the skeletons inside were not actually props. They were real human skeletons from a medical school. Most of them have been replaced over the years. A few of them are still in there, putting in the hours. We've got a small mechanism next, and I'm pretty sure it controls that fin at the bottom that turns when you turn the wheel. It's what makes our ship steer, which is pretty crucial to have. Okay, let's add in the final cannons. This gear mechanism that we added earlier is going to help our pirate friends slide them back and forth with ease. And I've got to say, it's pretty satisfying. The last piece of the foundation finishes off the bottom deck, and just like that, the entire base of the ship is done. It doesn't seem like much, but we are well on our way. Okay, now we're moving on to the cannon flaps. These cover the sides of the ship where the cannons slide through, and they swing open when the ship is about to fire. Real pirate ships had these too, and apparently, pirates needed to fire cannons more often than you would think back then. Now let's build the floor of the deck, which goes over the top of the cannon area that we just built. From this point on, you wouldn't know there's a whole row of cannons hiding underneath. The famous element of surprise. We also need to add some details to make the ship feel like a ship. You can't have one without a barrel somewhere, and the side railings are going on too, which is a relief because before, it was looking pretty dangerous up there. As I looked into more of the backstory, I didn't know this, but the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie was almost never made. By the early 2000s, pirate movies were considered dead at the box office. A previous one had bombed so hard in the mid-90s that it bankrupted the studio that made it. So when Disney started developing this one, they didn't have much faith in the project, and the original plan was to release it straight to video. They kept rewriting the script, brought in new people, and somehow it became one of the biggest movies of 2003. You never know what you're going to find in these builds, and I can safely say that this blue gear is not historically accurate to most ships of that era. Like any other gear, this is another satisfying moment. We do need the rudder in the back along with the mechanism that is going to turn it. And we also have a control arm to connect to the gear, and that's how our rudder is going to move back and forth. If everything works, our ship can steer and finally go places. As we add even more gears, they can catch you by surprise because these ships traditionally had a low number of wheels or engines, or anything that needed gears. It's kind of making this build feel like a mechanical puzzle in a way. But they do lead up to something very important with the ship's helm. You know, the wheel that every one of us had pretended to use while making pirate noises. We also need to make sure to add a small railing in the front of the helm to keep everyone from falling over. On this ship, we take safety very seriously. Our captain's quarters needs furnishing, and they're in good hands. Of course, we have a table, a couple of chairs, some candles, a few barrels of food, and a pirate map. This here is the cozy corner of the ship because when you're sailing the seven seas for months at a time, there's not really much to do when you're not firing off your cannons. So the captain might as well have a nice place to relax. Up next, we have a large side piece that covers the bottom of the ship, basically a wall that hides the entire cannon area we just spent forever building. From the outside, you would have no idea there's a whole mechanism in there. All of these side pieces are doing the quiet work of holding the look together. You know, sometimes the parts that hide everything else matters the most. The doors for the captain's quarters are hand-built, and basically what you would expect a pair of pirate doors to look like. Not really fancy, but functional. And then we're going to finish off some more side areas of the ship. Nothing too crazy here, we're just slowly closing up the sides until the ship starts to look like a solid thing. And I've gotta say, it's been enjoyable so far. As I was doing some research, I didn't know that Jack Sparrow as a character was almost completely Johnny Depp's invention. In the original script, he was written as a conventional heroic character. He was brave, traditional, and the kind of guy that you would expect to see in a pirate movie. Then Depp came in and decided to base the performance on two specific people: Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones and Pepe Le Pew, the cartoon skunk. Disney executives were not on board with any of this. They tried to get him recast. The film came out and was actually a pretty big hit in the box office. And Keith Richards eventually was cast as Jack Sparrow's dad. Disney also went back to the original ride at Disneyland and built 3 Jack Sparrow animatronics into it. He's been working at Disneyland ever since, which is pretty solid job security. We can't sail the seas without some lighting, so let's put together 3 lanterns for the rear. They've been the signature for the Black Pearl from the very beginning, and they're important because this thing would be impossible to find in the dark, which is a massive safety hazard. Moving on to the stand, this is the kind of section where you have to find your own entertainment. There's not a lot of detail and there isn't a lot happening mechanically. It simply exists to hold the ship on a table, and that's about it. It does have these 2 brown supports that are going to hold the ship level. These are the load-bearing pieces, and as we place the ship on the stand, it's definitely a nice thing to have. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like cleaning up all the pieces when it inevitably falls off the shelf. Shout out to all the support stands out there. At this point, Keira Knightley makes an appearance. Her first movie was The Phantom Menace over in the Star Wars world because she looked identical to Natalie Portman. I didn't think I would sneak in a Star Wars reference, and that made my day. It's time to build the masts, which are the tall posts that the sails will eventually attach to. This is the structural part. It's the foundation that's going to hold everything up. Without these, the sails go nowhere, the ship goes nowhere, and the entire pirate operation grinds to a halt. And with careful alignment, I hope everything stands up straight in the end. Our ship is about to come alive with all of these sails. They'll be running the show at this point, and I think we've earned it. I've got to say, I am a bit nervous to put these on, so let's see how they work out. The black sails are the single most distinctive thing about this ship. Most other pirate ships in the franchise have off-white or weathered sails, and that's just what sails normally look like at sea. The Black Pearl decided to ignore that entirely. They're pure black from top to bottom without any fading or really anything else to make it look like a normal ship. And the ship is even named after them. If you lose the sails, then the whole thing turns into a regular old sailboat with nothing going on. Now, for the record, I'm not a movie producer and I can't imagine that would be very interesting. It would be like having a Fast and the Furious movie without any engines. Or a Star Wars movie without any good acting. When it comes to movies, I have high standards. Of course, the pirate flag is the universal symbol that tells everyone within sight immediately that they're about to have a bad day. They've been used by pirates for centuries and are still pretty intimidating. Our Hector Barbossa minifig originally stole the Black Pearl from Jack Sparrow. And to really drive the point home, he got a pet monkey and named it Jack. And if you ask me, that's kind of a jerk move. As I put on the remainder of the sails, it's actually not as nerve-wracking as I thought it would be. I don't know why I was so nervous to put these on, but I think I was concerned about wrinkling them. And since we've spent so many hours putting this together, the last thing that I want to do is grab an ironing board. But then again, if this channel doesn't work out, that might be some practice for a different idea. Our ship needs a way to stop and prevent from drifting away, so we'll build a couple of anchors to keep it from moving. These heavy things are small in pictures but are huge in real life. And we're going to hang these pieces from the sides exactly like you would expect. Real ships also have small metal grates set into their decks, and they do serve a purpose. They let air and light into the lower levels without leaving the whole thing open to the weather. This does make our ship feel a bit more realistic. I also learned that the black pearl that you see in the movies is not a model. It was an actual boat that was used to haul cargo out to offshore drilling rigs. The production team basically dressed it up like a pirate ship. They built the entire black pearl exterior on top of it with wooden planks and everything. The most iconic pirate ship in modern cinema was a regular old oil rig that was playing pretend. And this is one of the reasons why I have trust issues. If you watched the first movie when it came out, the Black Pearl was pretty impressive seeing it on a screen. It's been over 20 years since that movie came out, and the ship is still memorable. There's something special about being able to build it now and putting it on a shelf in the house. Looking back, the star of these movies have always been the ships. And maybe Jack Sparrow. At this point, we have our crew ready to set sail, with the sails up, the cannons loaded, and the flag raised. After roughly 15 hours, it was this moment that I decided that the build was indeed perfect. Thanks again to my Patreon members for supporting the channel. I hope you enjoyed the build, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next one.